What is going on, YouTube? So, you want to start collecting video games in 2023. The year is halfway done, and if you haven't started by now, you're starting to wonder, is this a good idea to collect video games, retro games in general, in 2023? So, Iowa Retro Gamer Dad here. I've been a collector now for probably about 10 years, like hardcore collecting, not just buying, a few games here and there and holding on to them. The last few years have been the hardest for me. I'd actually recently done a big purge because I've noticed that instead of collecting to play, collecting for fun anymore, I was collecting because I was addicted to collecting, is essentially what it came down to. So in order to kind of combat that, I sold a huge part of my collection. Probably good, I don't even know how many games. It was totes and boxes full. Not as much as some of the other YouTubers that have done this in the past too, but there's been a few of them that have inspired me to do this. And almost to kind of start fresh, start clean. So I want to tell you guys what I'm planning to do in 2023 now. And personally, it's hard to have an opinion on this, being somebody that's now finding out that they're addicted to collecting video games. But I feel like that it is a hard time to start going to collecting retro games. And one of the big things I think that is the hardest about it is I don't know. With the internet nowadays, with YouTube, with social media, with everything going on, everybody is hunting video games right now. Everybody. Even people that don't know nothing about them. They found out that through, YouTubers that hunt games, they hunt deals, they hunt thrift sales, they hunt, garage sales, they do all this stuff, that retro games are becoming more and more popular, and they're becoming more and more expensive. So if you can find them for super cheap at garage sales and stuff, you can make a quick buck. Even if you do scalp them, or, which I say, even if you're a filthy reseller that sells them for way more than they're worth, and stuff like that. So the hunting has been going on now too, and I've talked about this in the past too. I do not like WATA, and I think it's dumb. I think grading games is not very good. Some people will disagree with that, and that's okay. I mean, nothing against you. I just personally wouldn't do it. I might get one graded game sometime just to have one in my game room because it might look cool, but I'm not all about investing in stuff like that or doing anything like that. But there's people out there that aren't on the scene and stuff like that, and they see that these games are selling for outrageous amounts, and they think that everything they have now is gold. So you're gonna talk to somebody, hey, I got an old Nintendo. What will you give me for it? And they'll have games and stuff like that. And, you'll give them a realistic amount, but they'll be like, well, I saw on the internet there was recently an article that Mario Brothers 3 sold for blah blah blah. I think it's worth way more than what you're giving me. And that's kind of the bat that I'm saying is it's kind of hard to collect right now, is because of stuff like that. I've had colleagues, I've had coworkers and stuff like that, oh, you collect games? Yeah. Well, I got some games, what do you got? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, oh, well, if you ever think about selling it, just let me know. And I tell them, and they're like, yeah, I'll sell it. What would you give me for it? Oh, this much, which is around price charting. Well, they'll be like, well, let me go check. And they'll go home, and they'll eBay it, and the next day they'll come back to me and try and say that I was trying to rip them off, that it's actually selling for this much. And I just, my normal response after that is just, well, then you know what? Sell it on eBay. This is what I'll give you. If you don't like it, you don't have to sell it to me. But that's the issue, is now it's harder and harder to find good deals. And when you want to collect, you want good deals because you want more money in reserve, so that way you can keep the collection going. Now, when I talked earlier about being addicted to collecting, it was a big issue, and in 2022 and 2023 were the beginning of the year, and 2023 was actually the worst. I was just buying games nonstop, and for no good reason. I was buying sports games, guys. I was buying freaking sports games because I couldn't find any other good deals at Goodwill, any other deals at a couple other thrift stores, and all they had was sports games. So I was like, I need to beef up my collection a little bit more. I bought sports games, paid probably $3 to $4 a piece, almost $2 just to make it so it wasn't wasted trip to go there. And that's the horrible part about it, guys. Those games, I had to throw them away because even nobody wanted to buy them. And I don't know. It's just so hard right now to hunt, guys. And that's like the main thing is what this video is really about. Is with the internet and other people out there, it's hard to hunt now. Everybody has access to materials that they can look this stuff up, and there's a lot of people out there that are more dedicated than I was. They'd get up earlier, they'd go to the stores earlier, and then there's people, other collectors in the area. Luckily, I'm in Midwest Iowa, or Northwest Iowa, so it's not as busy. So there was some issues before, but I didn't have very many other people that I had to deal with, so that was kind of nice. But I had some friends in the area that hunted, and I knew some other people too, because I'd see it popping up on Facebook, the marketplace on there. And that's one of the other things is people just sitting on marketplace waiting to perch on these things, or pallets, I mean. But I'd see people in the area making their Facebook group posts, hey, do you have any old retro video games? Do you have so-and-so? And they'd list everything down there. I'm willing to pay cash, and then I'd be out there too with my post, and everybody else would be out there with their post. And it's just so much harder to get the good deals going around. Now, if money is not an object, obviously in 2023, I don't know how money is not an object with the way that inflation is working in the U.S. especially. I don't know about any other countries if you guys are dealing with anything similar to that, but yeah, if money's not an option, dude, you can collect whenever you want. Everything's out there with eBay, Mercari, even local. I'm sure you can get on OfferUp and stuff like that. They're all over the place. Games are everywhere. That's that if you want to start collecting, that's not the issue. It's not finding the games, because the games are literally everywhere, guys. That is probably the only good thing about the technology age and social media and stuff like that, is if you get on Mercari and stuff like that, you will find games no freaking problem. But getting good prices and stuff for it, like I said, to be able to get more and more games. In 2023, it's been rough. I sold off a lot of my collection, like I said earlier, and most of it went to a game store, a local game store that I support here, because I did not want to take all the time and effort to sell them singly online, and I just wanted to, get rid of a mass amount of weight at once. So, in order for my collection goals for the rest of 2023 is nothing. I don't want any more stuff, really. What I've been doing is I've not been buying any games unless I beat games. So, granted, like right now, I'm playing through the Uncharted series. Once I play through that series, I might snag another game to play. But my backlog has been so huge that I don't want to pick up any more games. And it's been really hard not jumping on everything that I see. I've been like unplaying or uninstalling like Mercari, eBay, staying off Facebook marketplace and stuff like that, because it's been hard, because you load those apps up and you will see the good deals on there. But if I had to give you some tips for collecting in 2023, number one, you need to decide exactly what you want to collect, because the price for games right now is insane. They are super high, so you need to have a dedicated what you want to collect. And please don't do what I did, and that is just snag everything in sight. You bought all the consoles, so now you can buy any kind of game you want. Don't do that. And number two, have a budget. It goes with number one. The games are so dang expensive, guys, that you should have a budget. Otherwise, you're going to start spending way too much money just trying to fill shelves. And that's huge, guys. Like, the budget part is probably one of the more important rules, because if you were like me, you didn't set up a budget and you were just buying and buying and buying. And then if something did come around that you really enjoyed, you didn't have money for it because you blew it all on stupid other games. 3, you need to find a good source, good stomping grounds for this. I used to use Mercari a lot, and it was okay. My better luck was making posts on Facebook groups, sale groups, and reaching out to people that way was probably the best way I found for finding video games. But you got to find a good place to find them too, because I don't know, my area sucks for this. Your area could be way different, but garage sales are not as popular as they once were, and everybody usually picks them clean before I can even get there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that could help you guys. Another good thing is also being in a good network of it, having friends that do it too, because if you do have a goal in mind on what you're trying to collect and stuff too, you can have a friend that's always got another pair of eyes out there for you. I had a buddy, his name's Adam, for a while there too. He was at Goodwill, and I was collecting original Xbox games, and every time he'd message me anytime he saw one, and be like, do you need this one? Do you need this one? It's this price, and which was great to have, because like I said, more eyes on the prize helps you get to the end. Let's see, besides that, making sure that you have an appropriate area of storage or to put them. We all know that when we buy this stuff, we want to visually be able to see them. And because otherwise, what's the point of having a collection if you can't enjoy it by looking at it? And that's one thing I found this year too, was what was the point of having this collection if I can't look at it, or if I don't enjoy seeing it? So like when my N64 collection back here, it's not very much. I have a couple more loose carts over there, but having them sit there loose was not great at all. I did not like that. But having them in these cases that I got off of Etsy and stuff like that, to me, makes it look 100 times better. I don't have to spend the extra money getting the boxes, and I don't have to spend, I don't have just great carts floating around. And that's the other thing too that you need to decide when you're doing your collection too, is whether or not you're going to go complete in box, you're going to go loose, or you're just going to get, what your plans are for that, because that's another big thing, because you don't want to start going complete in box for an NES collection or something like that, getting about, I don't know, about 4 or 5 games in and regret, even worse, getting like 20 games in and regretting it because you have so many damn, you have all these games, but you don't have enough money to get any more because it's so expensive. Because they build up fast, guys. The loose games usually aren't too bad, but buying them with the boxes and the manuals, it starts adding up really fast. And besides that, guys, it's just you need to use your common sense when you're collecting. I don't recommend starting collecting now if you haven't already started. But if you do start collecting, I would not go in crazy. I would not go in, balls to the walls, buying everything on site like I said earlier. I would start off slow. Make sure it's something you want to do and that you're actually passionate about. A lot of people, when they first started collecting, it wasn't just buying games just to buy them. It was games left over from their childhood, games left over from picking them up throughout the years, and they just kind of started building and building and building, and next thing you know, they're like, oh, I got a nice little collection over here. I kind of like doing this. Maybe I should just keep buying, games here and there and just build this up because I like the way it looks down in your game room, or I like the way it looks here, so I'm just going to keep buying and buying. A lot of times it doesn't happen, that one day you just wake up in the morning and you're like, you know what, I'm going to start collecting retro video games, and then you just start buying them insanely. But sometimes I guess it could happen. But I'm not going to drag this video out any longer, guys. In my honest opinion, should you start collecting video games for the rest of 2023? It's up to you. I mean, everybody's different. I can tell you whatever. I can be like a typical YouTuber and get on here and be like, prices have increased 20% this year. But on this scale, they're going to end up going up more and more. So next year, these prices will actually go up 25 or 28%, and you therefore will increase your investment. And then you could sell if you want. But then if you want to keep buying game, blah, blah, I can go on and tell you guys that, or make some crap up. And then if it doesn't work out that next year, then you're going to come back and they're already making different content. So if you want to start collecting, listen to the tips I had earlier and just take it slow at first and go from there. It's a marathon, guys. It's not a race. Don't try and beat YouTubers. Don't try and do all this other stuff to just fill up your walls with games and stuff like that. Make sure, just take it slow at first, and if you enjoy, keep doing it. Just keep going then. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have started collecting this year, or if you're planning on collecting more. with my retro game addiction videos talking about buying games in bulk and stuff for the collection, I've had a lot of people tell me that this year was the year that they finally, after some of my videos especially, figured out that they had a problem collecting and they wanted to make changes. So just take it slow when you're going into this, guys, because it is an investment if you think about it in the long run. I hate to say it like that, but it's more of an investment because you're going to be spending a lot of money on some of these games. And if you really want to look into stuff, I would look into maybe getting a RetroPie. I mean, if you're wanting to start a collection just to play video games, I'd look into getting a RetroPie or something like that instead of going all out and buying physical hardware, because I guarantee you get like a RetroPie with an HDMI and you can use like a PS3 controller to play old games like Nintendo 64 and stuff. You're going to enjoy it a lot more than spending all the extra money for original hardware and stuff like that, because I think my RetroPie costs about $80 and I got a few thousand games on it. So let me know in the comments below if you guys have started collecting this year, also what you've been collecting, and if you think that, you know, it's a good time to start collecting, and maybe what tips you have that other people can use. But with that, I want to thank you guys for watching. As always, stay retro, my friends, and we'll see you in the next video.